There's a photograph that doesn't exist anymore. It was taken in 2019 in Ukraine, and it killed the man who shot it. The camera that captured it was so contaminated they had to bury the entire device as nuclear waste. That photographer, Pavel Dmitriev, thought he understood the rules about where tourists shouldn't go. He was wrong about a lot of things. By the end of this, you'll understand why some boundaries aren't suggestions. They're the difference between coming home with stories and not coming home at all. Every year, millions of us board planes to chase the unexplored, the authentic, the places Instagram hasn't ruined yet. We pride ourselves on going where others won't. But there's a shadow map of our planet, places that exist in the spaces between what's legal and what's survivable. These aren't adventure travel destinations with calculated risks. These are locations where governments, nature, and sometimes ancient cultures have drawn lines in the sand, often in blood. What fascinates me about forbidden places isn't the rules themselves. It's the people who broke them. The missionary who paid $300 for his own execution. The businessman who lost €500,000 to ghosts. The photographer whose last image was of something so radioactive it dissolved his organs from the inside. Their stories reveal something darker about wanderlust. That sometimes our need to see what others can't costs everything we have. John Allen Chau was 26 when he decided to bring Christianity to one of the last uncontacted tribes on Earth. The Sentinelese have lived on their 23-square-mile island off the coast of India for over 1,000 years, and their foreign policy has remained remarkably consistent. Kill anyone who approaches. Chau knew this. He'd researched their history, understood the legal barriers, even trained with a missionary organization. None of it mattered. On November 17, 2018, he paid local fishermen $325 to take him within swimming distance of North Sentinel Island. The fishermen waited offshore while Chau paddled a kayak toward the beach, carrying a waterproof Bible and what he called the Light of Christ. The Sentinelese met him at the waterline with arrows and spears. They killed him within hours. His body has never been recovered. Here's what makes Chau's death particularly haunting. The Sentinelese weren't defending their island from a tourist. They were defending their entire species. Every person on North Sentinel Island lacks immunity to common diseases that the rest of us carry without symptoms. A single visitor with a head cold could wipe out their entire population within weeks. The Indian government maintains a 3-mile exclusion zone around the island, not to protect tourists from the Sentinelese, but to protect the Sentinelese from us. The legal penalties for approaching the island are severe, up to 3 years in prison and fines of $50,000. But the real cost is measured in extinction. Anthropologists estimate there are between 50 and 100 Sentinelese left. They represent a direct link to the Stone Age, a way of life that has existed for 10,000 years. Every tourist who attempts to visit carries the potential to end that forever. The Sentinelese have learned to recognize helicopters and boats as threats. They've adapted metal from shipwrecks to create more effective weapons. They're not primitive, they're adaptive. And their message to the modern world couldn't be clearer. Some places are not meant for contact. Chau paid $325 to learn that lesson. It cost him everything. The Chernobyl tours don't take you to Chernobyl. They take you to the safe parts, areas where radiation levels are only 3 to 5 times normal background radiation. You'll walk through abandoned Pripyat, see the rusted amusement park, take photos with your guide's Geiger counter clicking reassuringly in the background. What they don't show you is the other 99% of the exclusion zone, where the air itself can kill you in minutes. Pavel Dmitriev understood this distinction. The Ukrainian photographer had been documenting abandoned places for years, always legally, always safely. But Chernobyl represented something different. A chance to photograph one of the most dangerous objects ever created by human hands. The elephant's foot. A massive corium so radioactive that looking at it directly would be fatal. Pavel hired local guides who knew how to reach the basement of Reactor 4. He paid them $800 to take him into the areas where tour groups never go. The photograph Pavel took was technically perfect. Sharp focus, dramatic lighting, compositionally stunning. It also delivered enough radiation to kill him. Within days, he developed acute radiation syndrome. His hair fell out first, then his immune system collapsed. His organs began failing one by one. He died 3 weeks later, his body essentially dissolving from the inside while he was still conscious. The camera he used was so contaminated, it had to be buried as nuclear waste. What makes Chernobyl uniquely dangerous isn't the uniform distribution of radiation. It's the randomness. You can walk through areas that seem perfectly safe, then step into an invisible hotspot that delivers a year's worth of radiation in seconds. There's no way to see it, smell it, or feel it until the cellular damage is already irreversible. The Ukrainian government has installed motion sensors and hidden cameras throughout the high radiation zones. But they're not trying to catch tourists for legal reasons. They're trying to prevent more deaths like poveglia. The exclusion zone will remain deadly for 20,000 years. Long after our current civilization has ended, the ground around Reactor 4 will still be killing anyone foolish enough to approach it. Pavel's photograph captured something that will outlast every building we've ever constructed, every book we've ever written, and it killed him for the privilege. The signs around Area 51 are remarkably specific about their intentions. Use of deadly force authorized, they say, not warning or restricted access. They mean exactly what they say. The guards patrolling the perimeter aren't security theater. They're contractors with military backgrounds, authorized to shoot first and file paperwork later. The question isn't whether they'll use lethal force. The question is why anyone would test them. Area 51's security budget is $37 million annually. That's more than some countries spend on their entire military. For comparison, it costs about $2,000 per year to secure a typical military base perimeter. Area 51 spends roughly $65,000 per mile of boundary. That money buys motion sensors that can detect human movement from over 2 miles away, thermal imaging that works in complete darkness, and private contractors who treat civilian trespassers as enemy combatants. The mathematics of Snake Island are terrifying. 2,000 to 4,000 venomous snakes on 110 acres equals roughly 1 deadly predator for every 240 square feet. Your bedroom is probably larger than any safe space on the island. The snakes are also arboreal, living in trees, hunting from above. There's literally nowhere to step, nowhere to stand, nowhere to rest that isn't within striking distance of something that can kill you in under an hour. The legal consequences match the medical risks. Unauthorized landing on poveglia carries fines of up to 100,000 euros and potential prosecution for disturbing human remains, a crime punishable by up to 3 years in Italian prison. The Coast Guard maintains regular patrols, and even approaching within 200 meters of the island violates maritime exclusion laws. What makes poveglia particularly insidious is its proximity to Venice's tourism infrastructure. Tour companies regularly offer ghost island tours that promise to take visitors near the island, not mentioning that proximity alone creates legal liability. The island continues to crumble into the lagoon, slowly releasing centuries of human ash into the waters surrounding one of Italy's most popular tourist destinations. The walk-on corridor was once proof that beauty and danger could coexist safely. This narrow strip of Afghanistan, wedged between Tajikistan and Pakistan, offered some of the most dramatic mountain scenery on Earth. Pristine wilderness, ancient Silk Road history, landscapes that seemed untouched by the modern world. Trekking companies charged $5,000 to $8,000 for 2-week expeditions, and adventure travelers considered it the ultimate destination for those who had seen everything else. Everything changed in 2021. Within months of the Taliban's return to power, the walk-in corridor transformed from adventure destination to death trap. Foreign tourists became high-value kidnapping targets. Local walkie guides who had spent years building relationships with international visitors were forced to choose between reporting foreign presence to Taliban authorities or facing execution themselves. The same families who had welcomed travelers into their homes for decades now lived in terror that any contact with outsiders could bring violent retribution. The physical landscape became equally lethal. Decades of conflict had scattered the region with unexploded ordnance and anti-personnel mines. Over 10 million throughout Afghanistan, many unmarked and unmapped. In the remote walk-on corridor, a single wrong step could result in death or catastrophic injury with no possibility of medical evacuation. Recent intelligence reports confirm Taliban checkpoints throughout the region with orders to arrest any foreign nationals on site. What makes the walk-on corridor uniquely tragic isn't just the loss of access, it's the economic devastation. Local families had earned $200 to $500 per month hosting trekkers, substantial income in one of the world's poorest regions. Tourism was their only connection to the global economy, their only hope for economic stability. Now they face starvation because the world has become too dangerous for the very travelers who had sustained their communities for generations. The walk-on corridor represents something more devastating than physical danger. It's proof that human conflict can transform paradise into hell within months, and that some of the world's most beautiful places exist beyond our reach, not because nature made them dangerous, but because we did. These places exist in the margins of our maps, in the spaces between what's legal and what's survivable. They remind us that the world still contains boundaries that demand respect, not because of rules or regulations, but because crossing them extracts prices we're not prepared to pay. John Chow's $325. Pavel Dmitriev's life for a photograph. Luigi Brugnero's €500,000 for a pile of human ash. The most dangerous thing about forbidden places isn't their restrictions. It's how they reveal the limits of our understanding. The places where our curiosity becomes more powerful than our survival instincts. These stories matter not because they're warnings, though they are, but because they show us something essential about exploration. That the urge to see what others cannot see, to go where others will not go, is both what makes us human and what can destroy us. Some boundaries protect us from ourselves. Others protect the world from us. All of them remind us that true adventure isn't about breaking rules designed to keep people safe. It's about understanding that the most profound journeys often happen in the spaces between what we know and what we're wise enough to leave alone.